let's get into it. Rotten Tomatoes has Ballerina at a 73% critic score. I think it's at 72% now, actually. Did you change it, Ricky Flex? I thought I wrote down 72.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
So it's certified fresh, but it's hanging by a thread.
Got it.
93% audience score, 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. Synopsis reads, taking place during the events of John Wick, Chapter 3, Parabellum. The film follows Eve Macaro. Well, I wish I had Ian McShane's voice for that. Played by Ana de Armas, who's beginning her training in the assassin's tradition of the Rusca Roma. So, Ricky Flex, we have a spin-off in the John Wick world. We've had 4 John Wick movies. John Wick does make an appearance here, but this one, it's focused on a brand new character. Initial reactions, Ricky Flex. Do you think this movie was worthy of having the John Wick moniker next to it?
I think it took a while, but it proved itself worthy in this John Wick universe. It has the quirks, it has the unique rules, the kills, the style, the sex appeal, not just with Ana de Armas, but even with the style of fighting. And it adds to the world. I really do think it does add to the world. As like we've seen, they're trying to build a huge universe here. They tried the Continental show. That didn't really work. They're going to do the High Table show. They're going to do the Kane spinoff. They're doing another John Wick movie. They're doing an anime prequel with John Wick, right? So they're trying to build this world. And I think this introduces us to a cool new assassin. Now, so I do think it's worthy of being made. Now, does the movie have its flaws? Yes, and maybe some more than just some, right? But it might take too long to kind of get to this John Wick universe quirks and styles and like what we're accustomed to, because the first half of this movie, particularly the first act, it does take way too long to try to find that footing. It does, and that right pacing that we're used to in the John Wick universe, right? But the pace does pick up. It does. It takes a while. And I was nervous, especially with Ana de Armas, and we'll get to that. I don't want to come out too hot, but I would say it's worthy, and I had a great time, and I would see another. I would happily see another.
So these movies, when you have John Wick, like John Wick Presents, a John Wick story, like there is a level of excellence that comes with these movies. And this one had, traits of what make John Wick so good, when it's less about dialogue, more about like the action sequences. I think what they do with action sequences is similar to what like Mission Impossible does with stunts. They are so creative. They are willing to make new movies as long as they can find out new ways to murder hundreds of people. And Ana de Armas, by the middle to end of this movie, physically she proved her belonging in this universe.
Oh, yeah.
And I also think that if John Wick wasn't in this movie, I'd be a lot more lukewarm on it, because Keanu Reeves, an awesome cameo in this. And he's in it for, a decent amount of time. And I don't think we're too shocked by that, because this is the first spinoff. You want to make sure it's lucratively successful. It's hard to fail if Keanu's appearing as John Wick in the movie for a substantial amount of time. If he's not in it, I don't know if I'm digging it as much. I agree with you. The first half, I didn't know where we were going to end up being. I didn't know how we were going to end up. I was nervous that is Ana de Armas up to the task. I'm not really loving the acting I'm seeing. The action scenes aren't reaching the levels of John Wick. John freaking Wick. There is a level above the highest level for John Wick. And I was a little disappointed by a couple scenes, but once you had Ana de Armas, Eve Macaro entering the village of assassins, the movie hit a pace where it was breakneck and it became John Wick level. So I love-hate type of relationship I have with this movie, Ricky Flex. Do you think the action scenes like lived up to John Wick status?
It's similar to Mission Impossible, where like the stunts in Mission Impossible, we have an expectation, and it has to surpass them every time. John Wick is the same way. Every single movie through the 4 movies, it has surpassed. Leading up to John Wick 4, which I rewatched the day of. I literally, like, before seeing Ballerina, I watched John Wick 4 to prepare for Ballerina. Maybe that hurt a little bit more. Yes. But I love John Wick 4, one of the greatest action movies in the 21st century. Open to debate. But that's the expectations here. Now, I'm not expecting Ana de Armas to try to do the Keanu Reeves John Wick, right? Even though I have high admiration for Ana de Armas's action stunt work, as we've seen in limited capacity, in like in a No Time to Die, right? A little bit in the Gray Man, but No Time to Die, that one scene was electric, right? So I am going in optimistic. And I think she lived up to the hype in the second half of the movie because that first act, dude, holy boring.
Yeah.
Holy boring. That was bad. We have an opening 20 minutes, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but we'll get to spoilers later. Opening 20 minutes, not even with Ana de Armas yet. She wasn't in the opening 20 minutes of the movie. 2-hour movie. It's her movie. She's not in the opening 20 minutes. It's her as a child. And John Wick is an origin movie. Sorry, John Wick is not an origin movie. So we've never had like a true origin movie in the John Wick universe. We have one here. This is not how you do it. This is not how you do it in the John Wick universe. We've already seen what they do through John Wick, going through the whole area with the fighting, with the ballerina. That's literally how we got the inspiration for this movie, was John Wick going into the theater. We don't need to see it again for another 20 minutes after Ana de Armas is introduced. So 40 minutes of this movie, 2-hour movie, is no action sequences except training. And the training isn't that cool. It's just like, oh, you have to protect somebody. It's ridiculous. Or you have to cheat, kick them in the balls. Those are the action sequences in a John Wick movie? No, sir. You did not get the message until the second half of the movie, where we get that Mission Impossible, John Wick, impossible task at the village, where it's like, how are they going to get through this one? How are you going to go through an infinite amount of assassins to get to the Chancellor? And she does it. She does it. And it's like, that's John Wick. Those are the action sequences that we come to the theater for. But that opening 40 minutes, I don't know what that was, but that was Bush League. That was like offensive to the John Wick universe. But the second half of this movie, awesome. Awesome.
The action, the level of action in the opening scene I actually liked. I thought the acting was just bad, honestly. And the Ruska Roma, I agree with you. We already know how it operates, and like we kind of know the rules they're pretty well established in like Parabellum and with John Wick. So I don't think we needed to go as much in depth. It was like we're trying to separate what makes her different than John Wick. It seems like that was all about like fight like a girl. It seems like John Wick is more gun fu, and you have less gun fu with Ana de Armas. Honestly, she's a fan of explosives. She loves
I love that
explosives.
doll.
She loves grenades. That's her gun. She prefers that as opposed to what John Wick prefers. So I guess I was trying to like show you her upbringing, but it's also the same type of story. It's still like this commonalities. You look at the story of vengeance, the loss of family and how it brings you into this world and how you're left with a choice. And no matter what choice you want to make, it feels like you're almost trapped in this world and you're almost forced in a direction and forced by a way of living. That stuff just repeats. I do want to say the action in the armory, I guess, is where it kind of picked up for me. The creative kills, I thought, like you talked about with figuring out ways to separate from the first 4 John Wicks, to have the ice skate as a blade, right? That we talked about the grenades. The hand-to-hand combat, it's like her in high heels in the club. I thought it was good. But that first half of the movie that we're talking about, the Norman Reedus scene, that didn't really work for me. The nightclub scene did not work for me. That was very disappointing. I thought they were kind of trying to say, oh, she's wearing high heels. It's going to be impressive what she's doing. But I'm like, this is not reaching John Wick 1 in the club, John Wick 2 in the club, John Wick 4 in the club. This is like literally not even JV. This is freshman team compared to it. And that's when I got nervous. Beginning of the movie, they're like, okay, like warning, flash sensitive, if you are, whatever, if you're going to like pass out from all the flashing lights, get out of here. And I basically gave a fist pump like Charles Parnell in Top Gun Maverick. I'm like, yes, like this is what we want. And that scene didn't hit. It didn't hit and made me so upset, Ricky Flicks.
Yeah, no. And let me play devil's advocate for a second here, even though I don't agree with this. That's her first ever job, right? She's 2 months in or whatever. That's her first ever job, and versus John Wick 1, he's literally the boogie Baba Yaga. Like he is like the best of the best. No one will ever be better than him. And maybe not in his prime, so he's a little rusty, but he's still like the best of the best when he's rusty, right? And then obviously John Wick 2, that club scene, John Wick 3, and then John Wick 4. Holy crap! Rewatching John Wick 4, man. I think my take of the Scott Adkins scene is still is living up. I think maybe like on the smaller screen, he doesn't look as good, Scott Adkins, and the blow up suit, fat suit, but that one-on-one scene is awesome, unbelievable. But going back to the club scene here, it was impossible to live up to those expectations, and for her to like, you had to show her kind of fail a little bit to say, oh, like because this is an origin story, origin movie. We haven't had that yet, so I understand the reasoning, but again, the fan in me is like, this is the John Wick universe. Our expectations are already up to here, and the stunt work has to be up to that level at a minimum. And then you incorporate all these creative fight stunts, fight action stunts that were like gung fu and all this other style that we're come to be accustomed to in the John Wick universe that we didn't get until the second half of the movie, and it just took way too long. And I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the first scene. I actually thought it was bad stunt work.
Like choreography?
Yeah, I actually thought it was pretty bad for John Wick. If it was Netflix, I think it's fine. But I think it was pretty mediocre. I thought it was fine, nothing crazy. And like I had my hands folded, like, all right, I'm waiting for the next scene. You know, he was just throwing smokes everywhere and then punching people or shooting people, but not in a fancy manner at all. So for me, it didn't live up to the John Wick moniker. For that, it was like basic Netflix action movie stunts for me.
I thought it set a tone. I think that they tried to make that guy look like Keanu Reeves, and like if you squint, you might think that's John Wick,
like a Hispanic John Wick.
Like it seemed like they were more concerned with a guy who can pull off these stunts rather than the acting. Because I didn't think that guy was a good actor at all, to be honest.
Yeah, he wasn't good either. Oh, all right. Do you want, since we're talking about acting, do we want to bring up Ana de Armas?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
She's not a good actress.
I was like, the one-on-one scenes with Angelica Houston, pretty consistent in this movie. Pretty consistent, I would say. I think she actually brought a little humor, a little comedic touch. But the one-on-ones with her and Ana de Armas, it seems like she's slipping in and out of an accent, like she doesn't know what she wants to do in a couple of these scenes. And there was one really obvious time where I almost looked at you like, this girl was nominated for an Oscar, and I'm like, this is why she might be more of, action film star than she is like someone that we'll see repeatedly at the Oscars, Ricky Flex. And that was pretty jarring because I thought this would be something that she would be able to do. And the action, we know we had her in No Time to Die with that one scene. Like, could she do this, with a John Wick franchise? It was kind of jarring.
Jarring's the right word. I didn't know she was this bad. Those one-on-one scenes, the dialogue was a problem in this movie. It was a problem. The Gabriel Byrne character, aka Dean Keaton, Usual Suspects, shout out, great movie. The dialogue did not help anybody here. But
you mean like the boogeyman? That was the worst line of all time.
But still, there's like a level, and Ana de Armas is not at that level. And I know and trying to help her out here, Angela and Houston is like a presence on screen. The director here, she's tough to go against. But you know what? Keanu Reeves, a guy that is laughed at a lot because of his acting or lack of dialogue in movies, particularly John Wick 4, he has a presence. Ana de Armas is stunning. And she's proven in the past, like she can do some quality work, Knives Out, I'm thinking. And next to acclaimed actors, Daniel Craig, how on earth can she not do this? Like, I don't understand. It was jarring. Jarring is the right word that you described. I was shocked. I think maybe she sticks to the action. And then if she needs to get back to the dramatic acting at some point, do it in your native language. Honestly, do it international feature. Because you're right. The accent was in and out. I think the tempo was weird and odd, the way it came out, right? It felt off and awkward. So I think there's got to be a change up here with her dramatic acting. Keep doing the action movies. I think Ballerina 2, definitely in potential, in play here, a sequel here. But I think if you really want to get back to like the blondes, the Knives Out, I think you like go back home and like do something. I don't know. What do you think? Like, how is she gonna fix this?
Her future might spell F and F, Fast and Furious, if we continue on this route. But I mean, it is a John Wick movie, so we can't be too harsh on the acting, but it was so bad, it was recognizable, which is like Keanu is different. Like his delivery, he is made iconic as John Wick, right? How he pauses almost in awkward points of a sentence, and he is man a few words, but it's iconic. It goes with the John Wick character, and he has straight up aura. When he was on screen, he blew away Ana de Armas, dude. Like it was just like holy fuck.
And it's so hard, dude. It's Ana de Armas.
And what I like that this movie did is like every one-on-one, like the first one with Keanu honestly wasn't that great either. Now I'm thinking about it, like that wasn't a great scene either for between those two. But when he came back and they had the one-on-one, and he gives her until midnight to get the job done, that was awesome. Because also it's like it is her movie, and you want to give her respect, but she is not defeating John Wick in a one-on-one hand combat. I was like, you knew. Chad Stahelski said there's no way in hell she's getting the better of John Wick at any point in this fight. And they stayed true to that. There's a reason why he's the boogeyman. That's how you follow rules, unwritten rules. No one defeats John Wick ever, Ricky Flicks.
That was arguably my favorite part of the movie. When they had that second one-on-one in the snow, and it's 11:32, and he gives her 28 minutes following rules. But it's because they didn't do this BS of like this spin-off and she would somehow beat John Wick, right? No, John Wick repeatedly, every 10 seconds, had a knife to her throat or had a gun to her head saying, stop, go home.
I'm giving you a chance.
Yeah, that's how it would be. And they did it. That was good. That was really good, and also was a good action set piece there, in the snow with the brick, showing you like this village and the outskirts is kind of destructive, and they're fighting in this cool one-on-one set, right? Pretty cool. I will say though, if we're gonna talk with Keanu here, right? So we got a lot of Keanu. So really good scene there. I think a really good scene at the ballet, telling her like when she's like asking for advice, and he goes, "The door's open."
You like that scene? That was
a good scene.
I was kind of sketchy on her in that scene.
Yeah, like her delivery. That's the word I was looking for. Her delivery is just awkward, dude. Awkward. But I will say there's one bad scene with Keanu, and bad is not the right word. I think it's more fanfare, and it's when he's on, like, he has the sniper waiting to kill her past midnight, and then he has a 5-minute action sequence. Dude, not your movie. That was all for us, dude.
Yes.
That was so unnecessary.
Whoa. You sound like you're mad about this.
I'm happy as a fan, but I'm looking at it. I'm like, dude, like that should not be in this movie.
I was ecstatic that we had that scene. What are you talking about?
It's like, all right. But like, am I wrong here, though?
Like, I don't want to see John Wick basically take it easy on Eve Macaro. I want to see John Wick fucking people up. And they were like, you know what? Jeremy Lin, ISO. Sorry.
Jeremy Lin.
Sorry, Eve Macaro.
How about MJ?
Iconic meme, though. Jeremy Lin telling Carmelo, go to the corner, back out.
I know, but he's like the MJ.
But yes, he is MJ. Basically giving him the movie for 5 minutes. I'm like, yes. And it told me like maybe they didn't have all their faith in Ana de Armas to kind of pull this off on her own. And what this scene also told me is like, get ready. Buckle your seat, boys and girls. We're going to be getting John Wick 5. That is coming. And he is in his prime still. Keanu still has it. Do not fret. That was my favorite scene of the movie.
I know. It was a great scene. But you said it yourself. Like, they didn't do it for the movie. They were like, shit, in case this movie sucks, let's add this.
Yes.
It was like, I love the scene. I'm just telling, like, that part, like, made me like, shit, is this movie not good? Like, it made me question it. But two quick things off of that. One, see, like, the part where we just mentioned where like John Wick's dominating, God, what's her name in this movie? Eve. Dominating Eve and like constantly could kill her. Like, that's good, like, universe, like, rules. Then it's the same way, like, when before that scene starts, the John Wick scene, They're like, he's just one guy. Then the other guy goes, it's John Wick though.
And then boom,
Boom, boom,
headshot.
dead. I'm like, that's awesome. What everyone's thinking, like, why do people just keep going after John Wick? Because you know you're gonna die. Like, just leave. He'll give you a chance. He's a good guy. Just walk away. But nope, you always have somebody. But then the other thing is no post-credit scene.
Yes, and this is what I was going to ask you. I don't know if let's have this be the end of non-spoilers. Do you think we're going to get a sequel based off this movie? Do you think, because we have all these movies on the horizon, we've had 4 John Wicks, we got John Wick 5 coming up. We have the Donnie Yen movie. We have the animated series coming out. There's a Continental series as well. Do you think we will get a sequel for Ballerina?
I think we will. So the tracking on this before the weekend, we're recording Friday afternoon. So like we have no idea. But the previews
Early for once.
Yeah, early. The previews were pretty good. 3.5 million on Thursday night. So not high single digits, which is like something of a banger. But this seems like it'll hit the over on the tracking, which is good. John Wick 4 had the best opening weekend out of the 4, and that was at 74 million domestic. This will hopefully get half of that, right? That will greenlight a sequel right away. And I think Ana de Armas, even though we trashed her acting, she is a great action star, I think. And they're going to continue to roll this out. And they set it up well. I think they're going to keep banking on this. And we have the Kane spinoff coming, which has a formidable Donnie Yen. And I think that's going to hit. I think we're set up pretty well in the John Wick universe. And we were nervous at one point with the Continental Peacock show. I'm still nervous about the Under the High Table TV series and how that's going to work. But I'm very bullish on the anime prequel with John Wick, a prime John Wick, pre-John Wick 1. And John Wick 5, obviously Keanu still has it by this movie, dude. He still has it. So I'm bullish on 4 out of the 5 of these and a Ballerina 2. So I think we're in a pretty good spot.
I think we will get a sequel. I don't know if it's going to be a priority. It kind of depends how this opening weekend does go. There's so many other projects that are on the way. Like, what's going to be? Do you think how like the Kane movie is going to be sick? Like, that's going to be a movie. Like, if that movie does well, do they prioritize like, okay, let's expand the Kane sector of the John Wick universe, or is it going to be like the Ballerina? You know, I just think there is a lot of other projects that have been promised. I don't know how soon we would get a sequel. I think it will happen. But also, you got to expect the next movie will not have Keanu Reeves in it, like at all. I think after having him have such a presence in this movie, I don't think you can have him again to lean on in the next one.
I want to say yes. I don't think you need a Keanu in the Donnie Yen movie, right? Or like because Donnie Yen's
exactly. Donnie Yen. You don't.
Right. This one's like Ana de Armas' first, like this is her action movie. You know, like this is all hers. Like 2049, very minor role. No Time to Die, literally one scene. The Gray Man, she was the 3rd lead in that. You know, like this was hers, right? Theatrical release. You needed some sort of like base, a floor, that like a heightened floor. Keanu brought that in this movie. Donnie Yen's done it before, dude. He's gonna be fine. And I do agree with you. Like Ballerina 2, I think it will get greenlit. It won't be a priority. But I will say they probably want to tackle this sooner than later. Because Ana de Armas, you want to get her while she doesn't have a lot going on. I think other people will see this, Netflix in particular, someone that she's worked with multiple times already. They'll want to get her and stuff. Maybe her own original action series or movie. And I think they're going to get this thing going. And I think Lionsgate, a studio that's trying to get sold, I think they want to make sure their value stays high, keep churning out these movies, this John Wick universe. So I agree with you. The Kane spinoff, John Wick 5, those things will come out before Ballerina, but don't be surprised if within 12 months we have a cast and we have a pre-production going on with Ballerina too.
Okay. I just don't think you're going to have, first off, like if John Wick 5, that's probably the highest priority because Keanu's getting older. John Wick is the center of this universe. Like you didn't need to have John Wick in this movie. You knew what the universe was because of the Continental, because of the firm rules that are set by the first 4 John Wick movies. You had him in this movie because this is the first spin-off that's going to be in theaters, and you needed to do well at the box office if you want this universe to like flourish and continue. So without Keanu Reeves potentially. So you need him to kind of hold the hand of Ana de Armas for this movie, you know, to keep it going. Let's go to scores before we go into a little bit of spoiler talk. Ricky Flex, what do you give Ballerina?
66.
I mean no disrespect by this score, and no offense to Ana de Armas, but this is a 69 out of 100.
Oh my lord.